Something I recognized when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses was that I really could not choose my entertainment for myself. Now, what do I mean by that? When you're a witness making decisions, you don't just ask yourself, is this decision going to be good for me and my family and acceptable to God? You also have to ask yourself, what if somebody is offended by this decision? That question extends to every decision that you end up making in your life, whether that's the entertainment that you choose to entertain yourself by, the employment that you end up taking, whether or not you decide to go to specific parts of town, whether or not you wear specific pieces of clothing, whether or not you decide to have a congregation gathering, how many people can be at this gathering, if excluding a specific person from the gathering, even though they are marked as sort of a weak Christian, if excluding them would offend them to the point where maybe you just shouldn't have this gathering at all. All of these questions you end up asking yourself because you are not in charge of the decisions you make. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you end up having to make your decision not just based on your own conscience, which the publications that you read will constantly tell you is your sole and most important factor in making these decisions. Rather, you base your decisions much more on the conscience of the organization, or depending on your congregation, the conscience of the congregation itself. This was actually illustrated by a circuit overseer at one of the visits I had when I was at Bethel in New York. The circuit overseer came and he said, okay, I want to talk about the conscience of the congregation. And everybody was kind of confused. He's like, okay, how many of you are okay with a woman having a singular piercing in each ear? And everybody in the congregation raised their hands. And he's like, keep them up, and I'm going to go more and more. He said, okay, how about 2? Some hands went down. How about 3? The majority of hands went down. He's like, okay. So your congregation's conscience said they are okay with a woman having up to 2 piercings in each ear. He had his hand up and he's like, I would have kept my hand up to 4. There was a sister in the congregation that I was in California. She had 4 piercings in each ear. She was very modest about it. It looked very good on her. That circuit overseer illustrated very well the problem that I had always had as being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I was a huge metalhead. I could not talk about the music that I like, regardless of how much research or time that I put into listening to this music, making sure that this music was acceptable to Christians. If somebody was offended because the genre was metal, then I could not listen to it anymore. This was a major reason in me leaving Bethel, because somebody got word that I was listening to the artist Devin Townsend. So I got called in about the artist Devin Townsend. And the music I was listening to was his Devin Townsend project. There was no cursing. There was no spiritism. There was no violence. There was nothing about what I was listening to, especially as regards Devin Townsend, but within my whole music sphere, that could be labeled as unacceptable for Christians. But because somebody was offended, I was told that I needed to stop listening to it. And I could defend my choice in music as much as I wanted, but because somebody was offended, I had to give it up. I made it pretty clear over the months after that conversation that I was getting rid of music, but I wasn't convinced that the genre of music metal was bad. And I made this decision based on reading the publications where it says it doesn't matter what the genre of music is necessarily. It's about the themes of the music because you can find good and bad music in every genre. But what the publications say is different from the standards that you have to live up to as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That is why Jehovah's Witnesses are considered a cult. The control that they put over the entertainment, the thoughts that you have to have as a witness is more than just cursory principles, cursory standards in choosing entertainment. They will come down on you if somebody within the organization feels like what you're listening to, regardless of the truth of the matter, what you are listening to, what you are watching, what you are doing is unacceptable. If one person thinks that, then you are in the wrong and you must change. As a witness, you have to ask yourself every single time you make a decision, what if somebody sees me? And then you have to plan around that. Because if you don't think anybody's going to see you, then you end up doing it. If you think somebody might see you, you might still do it and come up with a cover story. And if you think somebody for sure is going to see you, you decide to do it anyway, you're coming up with a cover story. You might take a route that makes it look like you are following that cover story. Jehovah's Witnesses have to think about the what ifs so much that they will live the lie that they are telling other people up until the point where they are truly making that decision, in which case they then pivot, make the decision, do what needs to be done. If they don't know, what they don't know won't hurt them, kind of deal.